Welcome to the Church Collective podcast. Thank you so much for being here this week. In this episode, I had the opportunity to talk to Carlos and Mariah from Mosaic MSC. They have a new album. They have just so much stuff going on at their church. If you don't know much about Mosaic down in LA, they are known for being wildly creative and they do some incredible stuff. And I just was absolutely blessed to be able to pick their brains and just see what the creative process looks like at Mosaic, how they write songs and how they prepare worship sets and how they have adapted to doing church online even more so than they were before this whole world just got crazy. So I think you're going to absolutely love this episode of the podcast. So we're going to jump right into the conversation.
I'm Mariah, and this is Carlos.
Hey.
And we are from Mosaic, a church in Los Angeles. We're part of the worship team. And we recently, what month did we release an album? I cannot remember.
2 months ago, I think, or less than that.
It feels like an eternity.
Who knows?
Season of life. But we released an album, and it's called Human. It's 8 songs, and we wrote it at the end of last year, and actually recorded it, which feels like an eternity ago, but in January of this year, and so it was a crazy experience to be able to do that and then see how everything kind of unfolded for the rest of what we've, experienced of 2020.
Sure.
And it's been super cool. It's something totally new. We wrote most of the album in Wyoming, and we just spent a lot of time really being intentional about the words that we wanted to say and the way we wanted to say it. And so it's been, a beautiful thing, especially in this change of season, to have something new to sing as a church and to kind of hold on to. And I think, when you're in church every week, things can get, repetitive. So it's really interesting to see, new songs in a totally new environment with people, and to see how people kind of have clinged to the words that we wrote and how perfect the timing was for releasing it. And it's just been a crazy season, especially because Carlos and I both lead campuses and, work at church outside of doing worship. So it's, just on top of that, been really cool to see, these songs be part of this new season.
Talk a little bit, so you hit this new season. What have you guys done? I know a lot of people look towards your guys' church for just creativity and all that. So what did you guys do when everything shut down? What are you guys doing now?
I mean, it's been a crazy season, of course. I think the cool thing is a lot of the things that we're doing right now as a church, they're not necessarily new to us. We were already doing live streams, and our music and our message was already being released through YouTube and Facebook and all those things. So as soon as the pandemic and the quarantine hit, we just went full force on that and put all of our intention in making sure that we were producing good content and making sure that our message it was something that could relate to the uniqueness of this moment. But it's been super interesting and weird. We're so used to seeing each other every week, all the time, to do music and do worship in front of people. And this definitely has challenged. I know I can speak for myself. It has definitely challenged a lot of my thinking and my looking a lot of internal stuff, and trying to make sure that everything that I do it for the right reasons. Especially when you're a performer. And so much of what you do is based on that immediate response and that immediate reaction from people. So I don't know. I know a lot for me has been a huge process of if I don't ever sing again on a stage, am I gonna survive? If I don't ever do worship in front of people and getting that feedback right away, am I still gonna be able to worship God and be in a relationship with Him without this? So it's been an interesting season, but at the same time, it's beautiful. It has been, our church is alive and thriving and active, and we hear stories every week of people connecting to the message and connecting to Jesus and finding hope through our music. And yeah, it has been good and bad, you know.
Right.
It's been everything. Yeah. I think too, like the beautiful thing is that creativity needs to be challenged. So like when you get into a set rhythm, a lot of times you lose that like missing that like X factor of creativity that's like, okay, we need to be resourceful, we need to maneuver, and we need to change. And so even when we're doing church every Sunday, we try to make it like 6 weeks and then we change something, like every, month and a half, we're like, okay, how do we reimagine what we're doing? Because it's so easy and so nice and relaxing to be able to know like forever I'm going to do this one thing. And so it's really been like, okay, even though we've, always challenged ourselves, it's a new challenge to be like, it's not just, even for Carlos and I, like, it's not just what we do musically, it's how we engage people through a TV screen or through a phone. It's not just musical. It's not just musicality that captivates people. It's now what they're seeing and who they're seeing, and the essence of the things that are happening. And so that's been really challenging because it's just completely different. It's just a completely different ball game, when you're home than when you're in a room full of thousands of people. It's like, how do you create that, like, that electricity that's in the room now with an individual? And it's almost like you have to create more of a sacred moment. And so how do you do that in a new way? And it's been, I would be lying, I'm sure. I imagine that probably it's a lot of worship pastors and church leaders that are listening to this, and just know you're not alone. It's every other hour I'm like, what am I doing? It's so hard. How do I reimagine something that's so linear? How do I like be creative in something that I find to be extremely limiting? And then I have to remember that that's how the most beautiful creations happen. When you're, when there's a box, you have to find your way out of it, and you have to find the new things, and you have to find the fresh ways to engage with people and help them into the presence of God in a totally different environment. So it's definitely consistently challenging, even 4 months in LA.
Right.
We can say, for a few weeks we've cracked the code. And then we're like, all right, now we have to change it because 4 months in, the same things don't work. So
Do you have any, over the course of this, do you have like maybe one really creative thing that nailed it? Like you got like some tactical stuff you could share with us on that?
Yeah. What do you think, Carlos?
It's so funny because the one thing that comes to my mind when you said that, there's two things. One was the first time that we did worship together, you and I, after not singing for like 4 months of doing, we started doing like Mariah said, it was a whole process of constantly trying new things, constantly changing. And we also if everything feels like too smooth, that's when we feel like, okay, we got to change it. We got to do something different. So after a couple months of doing worship, everyone from their houses, I think the first time that you and I and Andres, we sat down at the piano and we recorded, I would say, a live worship with 3 of us. I think that was that felt like a very special moment. Like even that it was not necessarily like the whole church coming together, but it just gave us some hope that we were moving in the right direction. And just connecting at a whole new level that we couldn't do like weeks before.
Definitely. And I think it is like being really attentive like each week and getting feedback, and also just personally. I think, for a few weeks it was at home worship, and that was really beautiful. That was really great. And then it was like, okay, it feels like now people need to be reminded of what it was like when we were in the same room. So like we played videos from our live recording. And that was really special. And then, a few weeks later, it was like Carlos and I just sitting at a piano and being a little bit more relaxed and less, tied to a structure or an idea. And it is really that. I think that's the same thing though in church too. You have to be so flexible and ready to move. And I think that's sort of our best posture to everything right now.
Yeah, sure.
It's, once you sort of grieve the loss of what you had, then you become more willing to change. And I think for us, it was very difficult at the beginning to lose that, being together, especially as worship leaders. We're like, we want that. We love that. Those are the best moments for us. And then to realize that we have a new opportunity, especially seeing so many new people coming in, so many people coming to Jesus, over the internet. It forces you to be like, okay, this is not dead. This is not over. This is, if anything, even more alive, just in a new way. So It really is. I think the best thing we've done is like be really flexible. Yeah. And also we did this like at home music video thing for our song Fountain. And that was kind of like right at the beginning. And I think it's been like, that was really special just to be able to see, not just however many people on a stage, but to see people at home, like with their families and singing this song. And it just felt really emotional to see people just as connected through all these different iPhones and computers and stuff. And so that was sort of like, those moments are the inspiration of like, okay, we're still together. We're still in this. We can still move forward.
Yeah. What do you think God's trying to do? I mean, I think that's something we all kind of wrestle with, but like just in the whole scope of everything, like it sure feels like just the way we look at church a year ago isn't the way we should be looking at church going forward. Do you guys have any inklings of that, or what you feel like God might be trying to do with that? I know that's a pretty easy question to just answer, but like I feel like everybody's kind of wrestling with that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's good.
I don't know. I think for us, there's always this desire to create new things because we believe like that's the way that newness and connection to God, it manifests itself is through creativity. And I think that there's this door that's been opened, and it's a difficult thing to walk through because it comes with a lot of pain and difficulty in this time, because really a lot of people are suffering, especially in the city that we live in. There's so much pain and so much financial struggle and so much divide right now. There's just so much going on. So it's not all just a great door to walk through, but it is God opening this door of like, hey, you're not just a local church, you're now a global church. And I think that this is true for every church, that's able to access, services on Instagram Live and Facebook Live and, Zoom and church online. It's become, now it's not just the people in your local community. Now it's, this huge world that you've now been given access to, who need hope and some sort of encouragement. They need life. They need someone to tell you they matter, someone to, be there for you and give you life and encouragement. And I think that that's been huge. I mean, we have churches all over the world, but we've seen a lot of different cities come out of this that are like, we see, significant jumps in different cities across the world. And it's just kind of eye-opening to be like, okay, we've always done live stream, we've always done this thing, but to now be focused on pulling in people across the world, it's just, I think, mind-blowing for us to be like, okay, we've been given an opportunity here, and so we need to keep creating, we need to keep pressing forward. It's not the time to like sit back and just wait and see what happens. It's the time to maximize the opportunity that God has given us. and the time that we've been given to now step forward and seize the opportunity. And so I think for us, I think it's just a beautiful thing, even just to see different churches that we love be able to step into that space more. And it's just been a beautiful thing to watch, people's voices in the spiritual community, be even louder because it's what people need, and it's what people are listening to.
Sure. That's great.
So,
yeah. Is there, so you keep talking about like needing to reinvent with creativity and keep moving. And I can hear, I mean, we felt that at my church, we started with the streaming, and like this, I think we've gone through 2 times where we basically threw out what we were doing and reiterated because we didn't think we'd be in this paradigm for so long. But could you maybe speak to, I mean, that's hard. You're seeing some success with something. How do you, what makes you decide to throw that away? Why wouldn't you just keep doing that for a while? Like talk about like jumping off of something that's working and jumping off of that before the things crashed.
Oh,
Carlos?
I don't know. That's a great question. It is good. It is. So one of our core values as a church here at Mosaic, we said that creativity is a natural result of spirituality. Like to create is a natural result of having a relationship with God or being connected to the source. So even before the pandemic, I feel like we always as a church had this idea that we're always trying to be creative. We're okay with change. That we're okay. Like I cannot tell you how many times, and I've been in Mosaic for 10 years, and Mariah has been in Mosaic since the first day because her dad founded Mosaic.
Sure.
How many times we have say things that they were working or things that they look good, we decided not to keep doing it because we know that we could do better. We know that there's something else. Like we never want to settle to something just because it's good. That's not the main reason. Like we want to create something great. We want to create something better. And we're okay. I guess that we're okay with change and we're okay with failure. We're okay with trying things and them not working and then trying them again. And if it doesn't work, we're like, okay, what happened? It didn't work. Let's move on. We still have things to do. And I think like we're so clear with our mission. Everything that we do, we're trying to get people who are far from Jesus connected to him. Like we want our friends who don't believe in God to find Jesus at Mosaic. We want them to find hope and to find life. And everything that we do, it has to be aligned and it has to be seen through that filter. And we're constantly reinventing, trying, and especially, I think with MSC, with our music, we're not trying to be cool or trying to do music, like cool music. We're trying to do music that relates to the people in our life. First, music that we like, also music that our church would like, but also music and songs and lyrics that our friends who don't know Jesus yet, they will listen to our songs and be like, oh, I like, even if I don't believe the same thing, I like the message or I like the music. I feel connected to this. So that's part, it's at the core of our mission of what we're trying to do and who we are. And I think it just helps us. It helps us a lot whenever we face change, whenever we face, whenever we're trying to do something different. Like I think like we're at our core, we know why, and also like I think like with being with Mariah for so long, like I think like me, I know how to trust Mariah in the middle of change, and we do the same as a staff and our teams. Like we're not trying to say no to change. Like we're okay backing up our leaders and getting in the boat and keep moving forward. Because even if we don't do something perfect, we know that we're constantly trying to do something that would relate to the most people and that would bring people closer to Jesus.
Yeah, that's good.
I would say just also 2 things to add to what Carlos said. One, we just think it's fun.
Yeah.
And like, I would just say that that's something that I feel like we've really, as we've done this longer and longer, it's become more and more valuable to us.
Yeah.
That, like ministry is so hard. There's a lot of really difficult things that happen when you're in ministry, when you're leading teams, when you're leading people. And so we've just sort of made a commitment to doing things that we love to do and enjoying the process of it. And, yes, we believe that that's what happens when you're connected to Jesus, that you constantly are creating, you're doing new things. But also it's just the culture that we have of like, let's just do things that we think are cool, that we think are fun. And a lot of times we probably should have left it the way that it was. And often it will go back to the way that it was, the next week or the next time.
Yeah.
But we just have fun. And then I would say like for other, there have been seasons that we don't change because the health of the teams require something more consistent. So the healthier our teams are individually as individuals, the more we change because there's like a connection and an accountability, a care, and that creates movement. And then when we're struggling more with like individual health, we try to keep it consistent so that we can help and process people through things and pastor them. And, I think that there's just different seasons, and we always want to get to the place where we're moving forward, but we don't, we won't just do it and like blaze through everyone. We want to make sure that the people that we're bringing along are healthy and solid. And, at the end of the day, that's what we're doing is we're trying to create strong people, healthy people. And so a lot of times the change and the creativity comes from like the health of our church. And so, it obviously changes when one person comes in, it can change the total, DNA of the team. And so totally. Things just change in different seasons and with different campuses. And it is like what we love to do. We love to change. We love to create. We love to be different. But also we love to, take care of people. And it is like everything, a season.
Sure. So I'm sure there's some poor worship pastor who just listened to all that and says, that's fantastic. I want to do that. My senior pastor won't let me, or like I hear a lot of like the freedom to fail is something that we all like to talk about. And we all, most churches will say, yeah, we love freedom to fail. It's like, don't make a mistake this weekend. Like maybe speak to the worship leader that wants to like try, what can they do to like work on that relationship with their leadership to give them some opportunity to, try. You have to fail a few times to find good stuff. You need that, but how do you help that pastor get through that or allow their leader to do that?
Yeah, I think like honestly, I mean, one of the first things that you have, if you're not the person in charge, if you're not the lead pastor, you have to earn the trust. You cannot force change or try anything for the lack of doing what you want to do. When you say yes to be under someone and to be under someone's leadership, you're saying yes to a system and to a process. You earn the respect, you earn the trust, and when that's earned, God will open the space and you will find the space to try small things. And that's what's going to start breaking and creating more change. But like, I think sometimes as young people, we have this, and I have it inside of me too. And I remember, I'm 35 now, and I remember when I was younger, like having that thing that I felt like, okay, they don't get that what I want to bring is the best thing ever. And the reality is that it might not be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
You might feel that way, but you have to subscribe to the context of where you are and honor. Like I think honor and being loyal and faithful to where you are, I think it's a huge thing that God sees for wherever He's going to take you later.
Yeah, definitely.
That's one part. I mean, there's a lot that we can talk about.
Yeah. It is definitely like one, I would just be really, really mindful of the people that you choose to serve under, because it is, for us, I can't imagine, serving under someone that I didn't trust completely. I fight with my dad, like more than anyone, like I fight with because, I have, like Carlos said, I have all these brilliant ideas that I think are brilliant. And he's like, no, that doesn't work. But at the end of the day, like, I know that God has anointed him to be the voice of what we're doing. And I think that I've seen time and time again, the decisions that he makes be just, the most brilliant, wise, discerning, moves as a church. And so at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I can let go of an idea. We try not to hold any ideas as if they're like our babies.
Yeah.
Like, we just got to let ideas go. And that comes a lot too with like songwriting or song choice.
Sure.
It's like, if we bring a song, the last time we the first time we showed the songs from Human on a Sunday, my dad was like, hey, that one song, like, it didn't, says it the nicest way because he's literally the nicest person on the planet. He's like, I don't think that worked. And I'm like, no, it definitely worked. Like, obviously you weren't listening or like looking at anyone, but like, I was there and I could see it. And, then, my brother says the same thing. I'm like, obviously you were wherever Dad was because you weren't listening. And then, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, you have to be able to take feedback because it's not my song. It's Mosiac's song. It has our name on it, and I have to let go of it. But I would also just say, really practically, if your worship is excellent, if what you've been given is you've poured everything into it, you've been faithful with it, you've brought it to the absolute best place that it could be, your people are healthy, you've taken and turned this worship team into something totally new, then it's pretty likely that someone will listen to your next idea.
Yeah.
You're asking for responsibility before you've done the work.
Right.
You don't deserve it.
Right. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a tough pill for someone to swallow right now, I'm sure. That's listening.
That's so good.
That's great. Talk a little bit. So when writing Human and working towards that, I mean, with this creativity stuff that we've kind of been camping on, I could imagine, like, were you guys trying to avoid Tremble as much as you can? Like, maybe speak to like what did Tremble play in as you guys, or was that not even something that like hit your guys' radar, or like maybe just speak a little bit to that?
What do you mean avoid? What do you mean?
Well, like, so were you like, okay, we need to do Tremble again. Like, we need to write something like that one was such a hit. We need to do that again. Yeah. Or because it was such a hit, we need to be creative and we need to avoid making something that would have that same kind of a vibe. Like, was there any of that going on as you were writing?
Was Tremble in your mind, Mariah, at all? Good or bad? No. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's a super good question because there is, even just like as musicians, like Carlos was in like an amazing Spanish rock band. I've done music outside of church, and there's always this sort of like desire to do something like the song that did well, like I totally get that, like I think you're like, okay, we have to either write the same song again or, like do the same thing. And I think just like we were talking about, with church and with our desire to change, it's almost to a fault. I think sometimes we leave the past in the dust a little bit.
Sure.
And, when, I think it becomes most people can sit longer with things, and I think we have a hard time sitting with anything. Like, once the album is out, we were like, okay, what are we doing next? What do we, these songs, we already did these songs. What are the new songs? And I think for Tremble, we're so grateful that song has given us such an opportunity and such a platform. I'm not even sure we would know how to write that song again. I think it's, I think it was such a special, unique moment for us that resonated with so many people. I hope that we do that again on like a soul level, but I hope that it looks totally different, And I think that's what we kind of always push for and probably don't achieve very often, but that we would hope that, the people that resonated with that would look into our other songs or look into our different moments and
Sure.
and find new, expressions of worship. And I hope that we have another song that knocks it out of the like that song did. I think we would be crazy if we didn't hope that for our songs. But we definitely, are always looking forward and always looking to the new thing. So
sure. Yeah, I mean, that really speaks to your guys's, move towards new stuff. If you're hanging on to all the old, I mean, just in set planning for the worship leader that's listening, like that's just important to not try to just keep trying to make that success happen over and over, because it's going to get probably a little more diminished every time you try to do that anyway.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's something really special too with the way that we like plan sets, is that we pull, like, we hardly ever play tremble. But we play it when we feel like it's really, really important. We played it like one of the first weeks of quarantine, and we felt like it was, it was so beautiful because we don't want to just perpetuate the feeling because we know it'll work. We want to make sure that the song actually speaks really specifically to like the time that we're in and the season that people are in. And so that's been really special too, just with, the songs we've written in the past, especially that one, to be able to go back and know, okay, this song has something really special about it. And we want to be able to use it when we know that it's going to hit differently, not just, not just because we know that people are going to love it and engage with it, but because it really speaks to where God's moving us. And so we love using old songs, but we just love using them really specifically, not just to recycle the feeling, but to reinvent the feeling, to make sure that it has a new meaning every time. Sure.
So for this album, do you have any really great stories? I mean, like you guys were saying, this kind of came out in a strange time, but like what's been like one of the cool stories that's popped out of since this one's come out?
I mean, it was so, I don't know if I have any specific, we have heard so many stories of people that, and I think it's what I love about writing music too, like how different songs becomes different anthems for different people. It's not just everyone singing Tremble, like everyone finds something in a song that really, really resonates with them. I think like our first single, Fountain, I mean, so many people in our teams, like they were like, hey, like this song is just, it's saying something to my soul that I forgot that God sees me as someone who's capable of doing good, that's someone who is good. And like so many people saying, hey, just like couldn't hold it, crying over these words over and over again. There's so many stories, but I think like even for us, like just the whole process of writing this album, Mariah talked about having fun because that's her. She's like, she brings so much fun to every room that she steps into, and like we just had so much fun in Wyoming writing these songs. And then the whole process of producing the music and doing a live album, not knowing that it was going to be our last time playing together as MSC for half a year or who knows when.
Right.
I don't know. When I look back, the whole thing felt so like a God moment. Like we can see the fingerprints of God in everything, the lyrics and the arrangements, and I think it's very special. I know that I personally have a fear that the album or the songs that would disappear with the pandemic, when everything go back to like whenever we can go out and do church. I'm a little afraid that the songs people will forget about them because I really, really love them, and they speak to me. They speak to me so loudly, and I think they're very special.
Yeah.
Well, I can say something. No, you're good.
That's a lot.
I'll go. I think one of the, so when we did our conference, I think November was the first time we ever played Fountain. And there's a lot of moments surrounding that song, like individually with people that are sort of now tied to the words of the song that give it more weight and give it more meaning, I think personally for us. And but to see sort of the faces, I didn't sing the song originally. For the first time, someone else sang it at our conference. And so to be on the floor and watching, and I was in the front row, so you can't really like see, especially when you're on stage, you see everything. And I love that about singing because I just like stare at people and like try to figure out what's happening with them, or like what, how God's speaking, or to see and feel. There's just something so special about it. And I think probably every worship leader would be like, yeah, that's one of the best parts about it. But to feel sort of the energy in the room when that song was being sung for the first time, it was sort of shocking. And I think no one was ready. It was like an afternoon session. So it wasn't, literally no one was ready, because no one's ready in an afternoon session to be like, hit hard. And it was just so, we knew that we had something special because we felt like God had really led us to that song and led us to those words. And, I can't really explain it. I don't know if I've ever had anything quite that, visceral of a feeling. And just to feel the energy in the room of people, being told that they're worthy, that they're wanted. And in a moment where it's like, it feels like it's sort of a fun song, and then it gets to the chorus and you're like, oh shoot, I wasn't prepared for this. I didn't know that this was where this was going.
Yeah.
And even before the song released, the conversations around that song within our community were just, it's like in that one moment until it released in like May, it was constantly talked about. It was constantly, having an impact on people, even though they couldn't listen to it. We didn't play it in church. We kept it very secret after that conference. And I think it just, I think for us also to see how it's unfolded with our people, it's just really special, It's to see, like to have a moment with God, have a moment with Jesus and write a song, and then to see how other people have a moment with Jesus. I think that's sort of the point of writing music, that you can facilitate a conversation where people can step into it and really understand the voice of God and the way God sees you. It's just really special. And so, there's so many stories with that song specifically, but I think nothing really beats that moment where you're like, okay, this, which, we had with Tremble too, the moment we played it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that this was going to have this effect on people.
Yeah.
And so there's something really special when you play a song for the first time where you can feel that moment you had personally with Jesus being had with, thousands of people. And so that was, one of the most impacting moments for me.
That's awesome. So what is next for Mosaic Music? Like what I asked that almost tongue in cheek because nobody knows what we're doing. Like what do you guys think? Like, what, you writing more stuff? Like what's coming up next?
Yeah,
we're trying to write. I think that's a big thing right now.
Right.
We're trying to write music again.
Sure.
And just keep doing what we do on Sundays and find ways of getting more people to join and to experience worship in a unique way. And we're also just waiting for the right moment to start doing some types of live experiences. Yeah. But writing is a big one because we still have a lot of ideas and unfinished songs that we want to go back and revisit and finish. And also like, why not? It's the right time to be writing music.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I texted Carlos yesterday, like, hey, can we write? I don't know if I know how to write songs anymore.
Same.
That's great.
Yeah. Just writing and I think being flexible, it's like what we've talked about quite a bit.
Right.
This conversation is we do have like huge responsibilities at church, and so the time on a normal schedule or calendar year, it's almost impossible for us to write together. We found a week last year, and that's when we wrote all the songs.
Right.
And So for us to be given this time, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
now we got to like kick it into gear. Let's make the most of this opportunity that we have.
Take
And
advantage.
especially now because LA has begun to re-shut down.
Right. I know.
Like, okay, yeah, let's definitely start writing some songs. I got some things to say,
Sure. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on this podcast. This was fun.
Yeah.
Really
Thank you, Ryan.
inspiring. You guys are, I mean, I'm sure everybody tells you the creativity you guys have is just very fun to watch and like inspiring to like try to distill some of that and, do that in our own churches. But yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Ryan.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you so much for being here for this week's episode. We would love to connect with you. Head over to Instagram, look up the Church Collective, and DM us. It'll be myself or our co-host Chris. We'll be right there, and we would love to chat with you. So if you're listening this far through the podcast at the very end here, head over to Instagram, DM us. We would love to chat with you. God bless you today.